We'll kick things off, though, in the Premier League. Everton with a 2-0 victory at Anfield against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. Frank Leboeuf, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol here to reflect on that win for Carlo Ancelotti's side. Stevie, I feel compelled to start with you. Sum it up for us.
I wonder why. Listen, the only thing I can tell you is that it was completely and utterly well-deserved. At no stage in this game did Everton look uncomfortable or under any real pressure. Yes, Jordan Pickford had a couple of good saves, but the truth is they were more of a surprise when they came, the shots, than actually anything Liverpool did in open play to break Everton down. They just simply couldn't break them down. Not for the first time recently, but at the end of the day, it was a perfect performance from Everton. They got the early goal, and then they had a great defensive line, and then they defended well. Got the second goal with a penalty, 2-0. Thanks for coming. Liverpool can have no complaints.
Craig, we've talked at length on the show, haven't we, about the injuries, of course, justifiably, as to why Liverpool are struggling so much this season and how it affects them going forward. Jordan Henderson dropping back. But even when they're in the attacking third, you got Firmino, Salah and Mane. In the past, it looked like they were going to score every time they had the ball. Now they look clueless.
You just don't know what's going to. You don't know what Liverpool are going to turn up. The Liverpool that were a threat in Leipzig, almost every time they went forward, or the one that struggled too many times in the Premier League this season, and it was the latter today again. And yeah, I mean, look, Everton had a plan. They were defensively strong. They're not fussed about having, X amount of possession. As Stevie said, the back line was good. Godfrey and Kane were excellent. And the plan was from Ancelotti. He put Coleman on the right side in midfield. He could play there or drop back into the full-back to make a 5 to nullify Andy Robertson. And he got an hour out of James Rodriguez playing in that little hole behind Richarlison. And then it was clever at the end of the game, or it was a no-brainer, because you've got two inexperienced centre-halves. You bring Calvert-Lewin on, who's been out, to go alongside Richarlison, and you've got the big two heavy hitters up front to really pressurise that Liverpool back line that is already creaking. So, it was clever from Ancelotti in terms of how he went about it. I mean, it wasn't rocket science, but he got his personnel right, he got his tactics right. And from Liverpool's perspective, it's a flat front line and a back four that with centre-halves that are just not good enough, and not at this level anyway. And I can't say much more than that.
Why can't they score, Stevie?
Well, listen, they're completely out of form, and that happens. It's just unusual that it happens to three at the one time. The other thing is, because of the changes in the middle of the park, they're not getting the ball as quickly as they used to, which means that they don't have as much space. And when they don't get the ball as quickly, not only do they not have as much space, but there's even more numbers behind the ball. So you add all of these things up, then it's a real struggle. Plus, basically, you're looking at a side that has had it's had the energy, seems like, sucked out of it. Whether it's just energy or confidence, you name it, it's been sucked out it. And every time you step on the field, you always think it's not going to get any worse. But it did again today with Jordan Henderson going out. So right now, for Liverpool and Liverpool's players, they're hanging on, really hanging on desperately for anything, including form going forward.
And Frank, inevitably with all these injuries, Kat's come in, he hasn't looked particularly convincing at the back. They look soft, don't they, defensively?
They do, but they don't have the choice to try something. And now that Henderson is injured, Fabinho, we don't know when he's going to be back very soon. But I think, as I said already, Klopp has to try, with the defense, maybe an inexperienced defense, but still with centre halves. He got Davies during the winter time, and he has Phillips and Kabak. He has to try to create the two centre half that he will need until the end of the season, and in fact reset the midfield zone with Fabinho and maybe Henderson when he's going to be back. We talked about that, and I really think that if it doesn't work, the three at front, is because Anderson is not there, because Fabinho is not there as well, because we can talk about Thiago Alcantara, the way he plays, if he's a good signing or not. You know, I know Klopp tried to defend him, but he doesn't play the way Liverpool wants to play, which is more direct football. And I saw Anderson coming into the middle, in the midfield zone during the first half, and it's when Liverpool was quite dangerous, and Pickford made good saves. But the only time when Liverpool created something is when Anderson went into the midfield, the middle of the park. But now he's injured. I think Davies is signed for that. He's not coming from a big club. He's coming from the Championship. Sorry, it has to be tried. He's a central defender, and we can have a good surprise. They have no choice.
He's struggling with injury as well.
I think the one thing that I would say, Frank, is as well, is maybe the one criticism of Klopp. I mean, no criticism in terms of the players that they have out, because that's factual. I mean, it's been a horrendous injury run, but I don't remember him ever trying to find a scenario, as you said, and maybe say, I tell you what, today we're going to have Alexander-Arnold and Robertson as the wing backs, and I'm going to have a back three. So I'm going to give maybe Kabak and somebody else a bit of protection by putting a Henderson back there, maybe as a third centre-half or as a sweeper, just to try something, because it's quite clear, more often than not all the time, but when they play these guys at the back, they're getting exposed. And I don't remember them, certainly off the top of my head, changing the shape of that back line. And I think that could be one criticism, to say, okay, you like playing a back four, but this injury list is so bad that you might have to try something different. The other side of the coin is, I don't know what the exact figures are for missing out in the Champions League, but I would imagine it's going to be quite hefty. And this is at a time when Klopp, Dan, has already, it seems, had some internal chat, shall we say, about bringing players in, both in the summer and in the transfer window. And there seems to be some disagreements between him, the sporting directors, and the owners about what the budget is. Now, obviously, if you get Van Dijk and Gomez back, then that solves that, and they should be back next year. But there's still other areas of the team that they're going to have to strengthen. If Wijnaldum leaves on a free transfer, a backup for Firmino when he's out of forms, and it's another striker. And these are all going to cost money. And if you're not in the Champions League, that is certainly going to affect the kind of budget that Klopp's going to be dealing with come the summer.
I just want to go back to the game. Stevie, obviously the second goal in the end 2-0, it wasn't that relevant, but it sealed the deal for Everton. Was it a penalty for you?
Yeah, and the reason I think it was a penalty, the answer is yes. And the reason I think it was a penalty is because Alexander-Arnold, no question, makes sure, or is making sure that if Calvert-Lewin is going to be able to stay on his feet, he's not getting over his right leg.
Right.
Had he just left his leg out the way, I would have questioned it, because it seems to me that Calvert-Lewin is the one that kind of runs into the back of him. But as soon as Alexander-Arnold clearly lifts his right leg, just to make sure that Calvert-Lewin's not getting to it, then for me that's when it becomes a penalty kick.
Frank, do you agree?
No, I don't. I'm still wondering, if Stevie saw the action and saw Calvert-Lewin hitting the Alexander-Arnold head and the back of his head before falling. So how Alexander-Arnold can prevent that and avoid a knee in the back of his head to not be touched by Calvert-Lewin, and to avoid that kind of hit, and I don't understand. I really don't understand that penalty. Really, I was really upset. Well, of course, it's irrelevant, as you said. It won't change the thing, and the Toffees did everything they had to do to win that game, and they deserved to win that game. But really, the ref went to the VAR, checked like 2 seconds, and said penalty. I don't get it.
Frank, what he's done is he's given he's making it easy for the referee. That's what he's done. There's plenty of penalties that are only given because you've given the referee a decision to make. If Alexander-Arnold just keeps his feet on the floor, then it's not a penalty. The fact that he clearly raises it to make sure that Calvert-Lewin's not getting there makes it an easier decision for the referee. And that's why he gives a penalty, because it's an easier decision.
But I'm sorry, I didn't see that, so maybe you're right. But does he put his leg up after he's hit in his head? or before?
As he's falling, after.
As he's fallen.
Oh, after.
So Calvert-Lewin
So
strikes the back. Calvert-Lewin strikes the back of Alexander-Arnold and is somewhat falling. He's not going straight down. He's somewhat fallen, and he still looks as though he's going to get to the ball. But then Alexander-Arnold then raises his leg, and if I'm the referee and I'm going, well, and then he collapses down, then if I'm the referee, then that's giving me an excuse to give a penalty kick. Because Alexander-Arnold's making sure Calvert-Lewin's not getting there.
Okay, Stevie. So saying that, we go back to Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, when in fact there is a penalty against Kurzawa because he hits with his knee De Jong calves. So, as long as somebody makes a mistake or makes a foul, the first, he should be punished. So who hits the first, the other? Calvert-Lewin or the other?
Calvert-Lewin hits. Calvert-Lewin hits. Calvert-Lewin. Well, Alexander-Arnold has gone to ground, right, to make a challenge. And as he's gone to ground, Calvert-Lewin's momentum takes him into the back of Alexander-Arnold. That is clear. But I'm saying because he lifts his leg, it makes it easier for the referee to give a penalty. Referee can just say, well, he's trying to bring him down.
Craig, what do you think?
I think we can agree to disagree, Stevie, but I really think
it sounds like it. Aye.
Craig?
The results are in for the Eurovision Song Contest. Scotland 2, France 0.
Craig, should he have been sent off?
My God.
There you go.
Do you think he should have been sent off?
Yes, 3 months red card for.
Because people will say, well, look at David Luiz against Wolves. Obviously, it was accidental. There was no intent there. He got the red card, and then even when they appealed it, they didn't.
But we all agreed, Dan. We all agreed that it was stupid to send off David Luiz. So we couldn't carry on. We can't carry on saying that. On top of it, Alexander-Arnold should be sent off. We can agree to disagree on the penalty, but asking for a red card, it makes completely no sense for me. The guy doesn't even see Calvert-Lewin at first.
Craig?
Well, you can't send David Luiz off and then reject. They rejected the appeal, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And reject the appeal, and then whether we like it or not, have a different set of rules for another player at a different club. They can't. They should not be adjudicating the games in that manner, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And David Luiz, as we know, made no attempt to play the ball or play the man. It was a pure accident, but it was a penalty kick. He saw red, and so if we're all staying by the letter of the law, whether we think it's stupid or not, then technically, he should have gone, because he was making the ball was not there to be won.
Stevie?
I concur with my good friend, Mr. Craig Burley.
Okay, let's move on, shall we, and focus on the earlier games.
That's a Scottish mafia. That's a real Scottish mafia right now.
Okay, they do.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.